Hello, everyone. My name is Mark Chalmers, and I'm President and CEO of Energy Fuels. Energy Fuels is a unique company in the fact that we're building a critical mineral hub of a number of elements for reducing carbon emissions in electrification, including uranium, our core business, vanadium, which is used for steel hardening, and also for energy storage for batteries, the rare earth elements, which all of you are aware of, are used for primarily for high efficiency magnets. And then in addition, we added recently the radioisotopes for potential future cancer treatment. So there really is no company like Energy Fuels out there as an investment.
Mark, lovely to see you. In fact, I'm saddened that this is the first time we've seen you for a while, because I was meant to be at your White Mesa opening a couple of weeks ago, but your government wouldn't let me in. I'm a bit upset.
Yeah, that was a bit of a surprise, Matt. We were really excited to have you come. We had a few other people that couldn't get into the U.S. because of the COVID restrictions, but yeah, it was a great couple days. We're very excited about it. It was just some really great people showed up and participated in the event. And it was great time.
Well, and yeah, I mean, I genuinely was sorry. I couldn't get in because of COVID reasons, nothing nefarious. So what sort of people turned up? Because it looked like it was quite a big sort of mixed crowd.
Yeah, it was a mixed crowd. I mean, we had a lot of people from the region. We had a number of people in the rare earth business, certainly uranium players. And then we had a number of politicians, particularly from Utah. We had one Biden administration official from the Department of Energy also participate. Now, some people came in through virtually or pre-recordings, but we were just really excited with the participation and interest. And in addition, we launched our foundation, the San Juan County Clean Energy Foundation, where we deposited $1 million into an account, and with the process of setting up a foundation, which we believe is the biggest, certainly in the history of our company, but one of the biggest initiatives in San Juan County, maybe ever, when it comes to foundation.
No, I will talk about that, but talk to me a little bit about the people who were invited and the people who turned up. What did they want to get out of this? Was this all about rare earths? Was it about uranium? I mean, was it about anything in particular that they were turning up for?
Yeah, look, a number of them turned up for a number of reasons. I mean, I think the regional people turned up because they want some good economic news in San Juan County. They see the job creation. They see the work we're doing with training and hiring Indigenous people. They heard about the foundation. That was of great interest to them. We had a number of people in the rare earth industry show up as well because they wanted to see the progress they've been hearing about. And then on the day, the price of uranium was over $50 a pound. So there were also the uranium bucks. So, it was a really quite a nice, diverse mix of people. And so there was a lot of buzz and a lot of excitement in our plans in the change in the markets on several fronts.
Yeah, there's been a sort of confluence of events in the markets that are working in your favor, it seems. Obviously, uranium price being pushed, and maybe let's talk about uranium for a second, if you don't mind, okay? That's being pushed, the spot price is being pushed higher and higher by the spot physical uranium trust buying in the marketplace, some other people buying too. I mean, what's your take on that? Is that real, sustainable, or is it just a little bit too synthetic to last?
Good question. I think the market is saying that it's going to last. I think the renewal of their ATM for $1 billion surprised people on the upside. I think it's angered utilities because they see this move in the uranium price. But I think it's a catalyst that has shook up a lot of people, and I think it's getting utilities to start thinking that they're going to have to start going back into long-term contracting sooner than later. So it's mixed it up a bit. And so look, I think that, when you look at the increase in the spot uranium price, just in the last month or so, it's really put a buzz in the uranium space. And so, yeah, we'll see what the future has in store, but it's making a difference, this Sprott uranium trust.
Well, the rules of the game have changed for the utility buyers. I say the buyers at the utilities, because in the sense they had all the data, in the sense that everyone shared their data and the utilities did not share theirs. So in effect, the rules of the game were slightly skewed, it seemed. Whereas with Sprott coming in now, it's moving the game at a faster pace than perhaps the utilities want, or had previously been prepared to let it move. So I think generally investors go, oh, it's a really good thing. But I'm just wondering, with your experience with talking to utility buyers, what are the options available to them now? Are they going to be put under any pressure financially as a result of this? Are they going to have to make some quick moves? Again, with regards to their finances, their balance sheet, to deal with this. Otherwise, they're going to be forced in a position which is unknown to them real quick.
Well, look, I think I've told you, I came from a utility family. My dad was in the utility business for 43 years, and the utilities don't like surprises. They don't like sudden shifts. We know that the price of uranium is just a small portion of the cost of nuclear power for many of them. Now, granted, they've been under a lot of pressure, and I think that one of the things that's good right now is that they're getting more support when it comes to the Biden administration to keep reactors running. But yeah, no, it just turned the basket upside down. And I think there are a number that are concerned at what uranium is going to be available and at what price. So yeah, look, we're already seeing it with inbounds coming from utilities looking for bids, longer term contracts. The question is what are those contracts going to be at? And I can tell you they're only going to be at prices that make sense for us as a company, where we can make a reasonable margin on those contracts.
Essentially, I was talking to John Borshoff a couple of weeks ago, and he said, I'm not going after utilities. They can come to me. I'll be here when they need to have a conversation with me, but I don't feel under any pressure to move my project to suit their needs. Do you think that there's not too many people who are confident enough to say that, not too many companies in a position to be able to say that? I mean, what's your position in your company? You've had some approaches for RFPs, but are you responding with the prices that you need, or are you just not bothering to respond at this moment?
No, we'll respond with prices that we need. You've got to build a book. I mean, if you do a contract, it's not a single contract that carries a company. It's a portfolio of contracts, and could be 4, 5, 6, 10 different contracts, with different pricing mechanisms. So, we're planning to build our book. We're planning to focus the company on securing revenue and become cash positive as quickly as possible. If you look at the last cycle, there was the greed factor came in, and a lot of people didn't do contracts when they could have done contracts. We're not going to get caught in that trap. We're going to make sure we build a book that makes sense for us. And not all companies are in the same position. For example, if you have to go out and spend $400 or $500 million or $1 billion to build a project, you're going to have a different contract position, or you should have, than somebody that has limited capital to respond, like in our case.
So you think we're going to start seeing some sort of layers of contracting at different price points with different volumes and so forth? That's because that's just the way it works. And the reason I ask is because people assume it's one price fits all, and that's the way the market works. So different companies will be able to respond in different ways depending on the strength of what they've got. Okay.
So we're going to start building, as I said, a portfolio of contracts at prices that we can make money on, and that will vary over time. We're certainly glad to see the interest, and we'll see how it unfolds here. But it's unfolding, it seems to be, quite quickly. And so, we're going to be, dynamic in how it unfolds.
Do you think that the US utilities are going to be fishing in all ponds for now? In which case, where's that put the US companies in the mix?
Well, look, the utilities typically fish in all ponds. But they also want diversity of supply and, by regions. So, and we know the United States is a relatively small producer in the scheme of things. So, as I said, and I think I said this last time we talked, I don't know exactly how this all unfolds, but I'm very pleased with how it's turned the basket upside down with Sprott, and then the renewal of the ATM. I mean, you got a lot of this price movement out of procuring a couple $100 million or $250 million of uranium, and now they have the ability to raise up to $1 billion on the ATM that they've put in place. So the party is not over. And, and the fundamentals for nuclear are improving. The support for nuclear around the world is improving. This focus on the small modular reactors around the world is improving and getting momentum. I mean, even what I saw in the UK, the focus with Rolls-Royce, so it's moving faster than I would have thought at this stage of the game. It's taken a long time since Fukushima, but it all looks like things are moving into place in the right direction in a robust way.
Yeah, it is. I think we've got Hinkley C here in Suffolk is the largest engineering project in Europe currently. So yeah, it's very very much part of the infrastructure here in the UK. Just on uranium. So can you tell me, have you been approached by Sprott in terms of buying, or do you think your inventory is better served sitting with you for now?
We haven't been approached by Sprott for some of our inventories, but as I said, we do things that make sense. We've got around 700,000 pounds of uranium, and it's produced U.S. origin uranium, unlike a lot of people who bought the uranium, even though that looks like that was a good play for those that bought uranium at lower prices. So we've got a lot of optionality, and I don't think any other investment in the uranium or earth space has the kind of optionality that Energy Fuels has right now.
Right. Okay. And then I'm not going to dwell on this too long, because we've talked about it ad infinitum in the past, which is obviously you've got your uranium inventory, you've got your vanadium inventory, and you're sitting on big piles of cash at the moment on top of that as well. So your balance sheet looks good and healthy, but I think the thing, and you're getting a lot of credit for that, but the thing which interests us and has interested us for some time, and perhaps you're not getting enough credit for, is the rare earths element, because there's a lot of moving parts, and perhaps people don't understand those moving parts. So can you just, given the amount of press releases we've seen to do with rare earths, can you tell us how you're building that picture? What are the bits that we should be looking at?
Well, we're building that with our monazite plant, monazite sands, which we think is a key differentiator because of the quality of the rare earths and the contained uranium that we want and we can recover. So so it's gaining momentum. The interest is building daily. We still have to show the market that we're going to get into significant commercial production with a very significant cash margin, we believe, in time. And so the market's watching that, but doesn't quite believe it. We don't think people really believe the rare earth program in its entirety. I mean, the average investor, certainly people like Constantine and some of the people like Chalmers, Hyperion, others, sophisticated rare earth producers believe the story. But I'm quite comfortable that people don't believe, because I want to create opportunity for our investors to see that pop when the time comes. But my phone continues to ring off the hook when it comes to all the things we're doing, but also particularly with the rare earths. We're talking to monazite producers. We're advancing our scoping work for separation. The number the key experts that are in the world that are joining us in different capacities is increasing. We produce the rare earths, the carbonate, we've shipped that to Estonia. They're getting ready to process it in Estonia. That's getting attention because we're the most advanced when it comes to processing than anyone in all of North America, anyone. And we did it in less than 2 years.
What the bit that I can see is that you're looking to fill up the capacity at White Mesa Mill. I wanted to come to White Mesa Mill because I've seen the pictures. It looks huge, and you talked about having 17 lines, and so it's all good stuff. But I wanted to actually get a sense of the scale of this thing because you seem to be the deal with like consolidated uranium, for instance. That's going to when you because I think you're operating it on their behalf, get that up and producing. That's going to come through White Mesa Mill. The RadTran deal with regards to, with the cancer therapeutic isotope project. I'm looking at Hyperion, who actually I'm speaking to later today. They will be feeding through the White Mesa Mill. So I can see the revenue streams you're building there. But I think the big picture bit, which people want to understand is, can you deliver this end-to-end solution? Can this be a central hub for the US or North America for critical minerals? Is that going to take time? Is that something that you're entirely going to be able to do? Or are you going to have to keep shipping off to Eastern Europe to kind of finish the process?
Look at it. It's absolutely in our sights and it's going to happen. There's still a lot of work to do. I mean, our goal is in approximately a year's time, we put in a comprehensive plan to the state of Utah with all our plants, for a complete retrofit modernization of the White Mesa Mill. It historically, over its 40 years, has been underutilized. It's been underutilized. And, we're just seeing all these remarkable opportunities to utilize the facility in a much more significant way than ever. The brightest days for Energy Fuels, and I've been involved with this group for almost 40 years, are ahead of it. The brightest days. This, you've heard me say that I'm more excited today than I've ever been in my entire career because I never thought that all these things would be happening at the same time. Now that does complicate managing the facility to an extent, because of the unique interest in so many things.
So what stops you from becoming a Linus? What stops you from becoming a Mountain Pass? What are is it just the feed, or is there more to it? Is it more complicated than that?
Yeah, right now, the main thing is securing adequate sources of feed of the monazite sands. And we believe that is going to build. We're talking to well over half a dozen groups around the world. They're seeing the progress we're making. When it comes to the processing, the separations, we don't see that as a stumbling block. We can build that out as we go. We're not downplaying, the risk that some of these steps have, but we're comfortable with those risks because of our history, particularly with solvent extraction. So we've got to show the market that we've got significant feeds of monazite sands. And then on the rare earth space, we believe it is going to be game on. And I've said this before, the strike rate on capital and operating costs, we believe is going to be remarkable. It's going to surprise people. It's going to scare some people. It's going to scare people because there's a lot of people out there saying that they need subsidies to be competitive with the Chinese. We don't believe we need subsidies at all. We think we can compete head to head. Now, we're not trying to do any harm to China because the world's going to need all the rare earth elements it can obtain. We're going to need China. We're going to need Linus. We're going to need, Mountain Pass and others that can competitively produce rare earth materials. And we're going to need White Mesa. So, we're going to need all these groups working together and delivering, because otherwise we'll never meet the objectives of a lot of people that are looking at, advancing electric cars and renewable energy and whatnot without all these things hitting on all cylinders.
That's very conciliatory and very magnanimous. of you, and which is good news for all parties concerned with the rare earths industry. Do you feel you can say that because you're in a position of strength? Because the reason I ask is that when I look back at the kind of uranium conversations of a couple of years ago from US uranium companies, it was very antagonistic. It was very combative language. Was that because the uranium was sort of down in the dumps, or is that just a very different market from rare earths? I mean, what is it? Is it night and day in terms of the sorts of people that are operating in it? Because you still got this big foe, this Chinese, influence in this space, but you're talking a very, we're all in it together language here, whereas the uranium just felt different. Or has that changed, do you think?
Yeah, look, they're very different markets, but they're very complementary of each other because, the objectives of where they're driving the world. So, and different players. I mean, most of the rare earth people are over in the rare earth camp, and most uranium people in the uranium camp. But there are a number of people that I've ran into on both sides of the equation. But yeah, no, they're very different, and it's been a learning experience for myself and our company. But I do think we're in a very strong position with our monazite plan. I think that, even if, people try to replicate the plan, they're going to be, years and years and years behind us if they're able to do that. But I think that the United States, the world needs another monazite plan other than China. And so I think that what we focused on and how we moved, has been very, focused and purposeful. And so I don't have any regrets that we've got into this space. But I also think that the way we're approaching it is smart. And I hope I don't have to turn around someday and say it isn't smart. But I've also, it's not just my idea, it's been, basically, endorsed by others that have a lot of experience in the rare earth business. And as I said, the market hasn't quite caught on to it yet. But I think that when we can show that the supplies of rare earths are building the monazite sands, I think people are going to get it, and they're going to understand this is going to happen. And that's certainly our intention. And we don't believe there's anything in the way of making this happen. The question is, at what scale and over what time period?
I agree with all of that. I do think you guys could be a mountain pass. I do think you can be a Linus, and there's a bunch of steps you got to do that, and it's down to you to do, focus on the economics of that. But I just wanted to understand the thought process and parallels between what you went through, because you both started it's from a low base. Uranium was in a dark place for a while. Rare earths, much unloved too, but you've approached both of those problems in different ways. And I just wondered, were lessons learned from the uranium process that have been applied here in rare earths? Because you've brought everyone together here. The rare earth seems like you've got the best people together. You're building a US critical minerals hub around White Mesa, and it's a kind of massive love-in. Whereas I just felt that the uranium story just felt a little bit more, I say combative, I think. It was them versus us. It was East versus West. And is that just the history of the geopolitics of uranium, or is that just of the moment and everyone's now best buddies once we realize that, the green economy's here, green energy is required. You've got lots of supporters from all around the world, supporting nuclear, which wasn't always the case. Do you see the parallel I'm trying to draw between where both started, but different approaches?
Yeah, no, look, I do, and I don't, but I think, the uranium, with the knowledge base that we created with uranium, just the fact that we've got a lot of professionals that, have been doing this a lot of years, dealing with the radionuclides, recovering uranium, disposing of this, the tailings, in these RCRA cells, it all has, created the foundation for the rare earth business. And And I think that's the unique element that we have.
Well, let me interrupt you there, because it seems to me that you've always realized the importance of White Mesa, but it wasn't in an environment where you could do much about it, because uranium was in the doldrums, and vanadium too to a greater degree. But now with this rare earths component, I think other people are starting to recognize what White Mesa could be in terms of its ability to process a lot of different types of material in there. So, I mean, is there going to be more of these deals? Are we going to see more deals? Because you said to me in the past, there's a bunch of uranium companies. There's no chance that they're going to process through White Mesa. Are you now opening the doors a little bit to them?
Well, we're always going to look at everything on a case-by-case basis. Does it make sense for us, Energy Fuels? Not does it make sense for others? So, I think we've got, quite a wide variety of things that we're pursuing right now. We've got to stay focused on that wide variety because it's fairly complicated. But, with things like the divestment of these non-core assets to International Consolidated Uranium, now that's an example of recognizing we don't have time to do justice for those assets. So, we're always going to be open for what makes sense. The addition of the radionuclides, we're very, very excited about that because that could potentially be another huge opportunity for the company. Huge, because radionuclides are in short supply. They're in short supply, but guess what? White Mesa can be, the host of that can be harvested for the radionuclides. And so it all meshes perfectly with the uranium production, the rare earth production that contains uranium and the thorium, and then the medical isotopes. So, why shouldn't we try to look at this in a holistic way to get the best outcome possible for our shareholders? And I've said this to you a number of times, Matt, we're not thinking small here. We're thinking huge. Now, we don't need all of these things to happen. A couple of them, and we're a multi-billion-dollar company. I mean, we're already a billion-dollar company, but we will be a multi-billion-dollar company, in my opinion, with the focus we have on what we're doing. And, so I'm very confident in that. We have a lot of work. Is it guaranteed? No, I can't guarantee 100%, but I can tell you it is moving very quickly.
I want to talk about uranium a bit. You've always said we're the US's biggest uranium producer, right? You've got the White Mesa Mill. You also said to me, he controls the mill, controls the district. You've got a few uranium companies that benefited from recent movement in, obviously, not just the spot price, but obviously the equities. They're 400, 500, 600 million bucks. None of them have a mill. Do you have the ability to control their margins as a result, or do they have lots of options available to them?
Well, as I said before, we're going to do what makes sense for us. We're going to deal with the people we want to deal with. We don't have to mill somebody else's ore if we don't want to. You're right. Whoever owns the mill controls the district. And that has been around for decades. Okay. You can't just mine the ore, put it out on a stockpile, and have it turn into material that can go to a converter. And so, I think there's a lot of hype in people that just say, well, I'm going to mine, I'm going back into mining, but they don't have the ability to make that into yellow cake and ship it to the converter without the mill, or they have to go build their own mill. And that can take a decade or longer, and it's going to cost hundreds of millions of dollars. So, our goal, and again, our initial arrangement with International Consolidated Uranium, they're the only ones that have a milling agreement with us. Very favorable milling agreement. And that is going to be our focus for now. We're not going to be, trying to cover every aspect of the uranium space because we've got so much in front of us right now.
So they've been on the show recently, Consolidated Uranium. I think they've lost the international bit, rebranding already. But they talked about their portfolio of projects. People don't sell the good stuff, right? I know you got a lot of projects, a lot of assets. People don't tend to sell the good stuff. Where would you put the projects that you've sold them, or I know you haven't quite closed yet, but when it does, against other projects in, say, in America, in the US? Did you sell them some good stuff, or are they going to have to work real hard to make those things work?
Well, they are good projects. And if you added up the top producers over the last 15 years, you'd have Cameco number 1, Energy Fuels number 2, UR Energy number 3. You would have the Russians, Uranium One number 4, and the assets that international consolidated, if they've dropped international, they're consolidated uranium, are acquiring from us, they would be number 5 over the 15 years. They'd be ahead of everybody else. Okay, they are proven projects. They are permitted. They have milling agreements. And with the prices increasing, they can respond quicker at lower costs, lower capital costs, and get into production quicker than just about everybody else. And I believe they'll produce a lot more uranium than just about anybody else. Now, there are a few emerging opportunities in the US, and I'm not saying that they may not pass these assets that we're selling, but these assets have produced. They're proven.
Okay, let's get back and talk about the San Juan County Clean Energy Foundation. Okay, why have you set that up? Is that just an ESG tick box exercise, or is there more to it?
Well, look, if you look at the history of the mill over the 40 years it's been in existence, it's been underutilized. It's gone through a lot of down markets. We've had financial limitations of what we could do in the region. With the opportunities that are presenting themselves, that presents more capacity for us. It's a very poor region. It's the poorest in Utah. It's about half of it is Native Americans. And this is something I wanted to do, our company wanted to do, our board supported. It does give us, we believe, some ticks in the ESG boxes. I think people haven't really understood what we do in the region, but we're also rebranding the company. It is a clean energy company. It is a critical mineral company. A lot of people associate the White Mesa Mill with legacy uranium mines from the 50s and 60s, and we need to make sure people understand that is not the right analogy and connection. This is clean energy, green jobs for the future. We can do a lot of good with creating jobs and hiring Indigenous people and other people, not just Indigenous people. And we want to do more. And now's the time to set this up and put it in place. And I look forward to those first distributions that we make out of that foundation in a very positive way. And I think people are going to applaud it. And even our foes that continually challenge us and say, we're this dirty energy and we've got this poor legacy. I want to show them that we are different and what we're doing is different. And I'm proud of how we do things. And I look forward to the future. And I think that it's going to be just remarkable for San Juan County as a whole. Not just our company, but for the whole region. Okay.
Well, I get more of that, I guess, to be announced as it comes. So, Mark Chalmers of Clean Energy Fuels, we're going to call you. Thank you for your time today. I know you've got a bit of a tickly throat, so thanks for putting up with these questions, and we will speak to you again soon.
Thank you, Matt. Always a pleasure.